In today's video, we're diving into the remarkable life of one of the most influential figures in American history, Rosa Parks. Strap in as we take a captivating journey through her courageous actions that ignited a powerful wave of change, forever altering the course of our nation's history. It's a fateful December day in 1955, Montgomery, Alabama. A tired Rosa Parks, a simple seamstress with an indomitable spirit, decides enough is enough. In an act of defiance that will resonate for generations, she refuses to give up her seat on a segregated bus, standing up against racial injustice. But little did Rosa Parks know that her act of civil disobedience would spark a fire that would sweep across the nation. The Montgomery Bus Boycott was born, a movement where ordinary people stood united against the chains of oppression, walking miles day after day, defying the status quo. The impact was seismic. Rosa Parks became a catalyst, a beacon of hope for those yearning for equality. Her unwavering determination captured the attention of leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., who would rise to prominence, guided by the spirit of her bravery. So join us as we unravel the extraordinary life of Rosa Parks, a woman who refused to be silenced and became a symbol of change in the fight for civil rights. Rosa Louise Macaulay Parks was born on February 4, 1913, in Tuskegee, Alabama. Her early life was shaped by the harsh realities of racial segregation and discrimination prevalent in the South during that time. Growing up in a racially divided society, young Rosa experienced firsthand the injustices that would later fuel her determination for change. Raised in a modest family, Rosa Parks was taught the values of dignity, equality, and self-respect. Her mother, Leona Edwards, was a teacher, while her father, James Macaulay, worked as a carpenter. Despite their limited means, Rosa's parents instilled in her a deep sense of pride in her African American heritage. In her formative years, she confronted racial segregation on a regular basis. She attended segregated schools, where resources and opportunities were grossly unequal. The stark contrast between the facilities for white and African American students left a lasting impact on her. Witnessing the glaring disparities fueled her desire for justice and equality. Rosa's experiences extended beyond the school setting. Segregation extended to nearly every aspect of daily life in Alabama. She encountered segregated public spaces, such as water fountains, restrooms, and movie theaters. The cruel realities of Jim Crow laws, which enforced racial separation, were a constant reminder of the systemic discrimination faced by African Americans. Moreover, Rosa witnessed acts of racial violence and brutality. She often heard stories of lynchings, racial slurs, and physical attacks against black individuals. These incidents deepened her resolve to challenge the status quo and fight for a more just society. Rosa Parks' journey as an activist and her commitment to education played crucial roles in shaping her as a prominent figure in the fight for civil rights. Despite the obstacles she faced, Parks actively participated in civil rights organizations, most notably the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. Her involvement with the NAACP began in the 1940s when she joined as a member, later serving as the secretary for the Montgomery, Alabama chapter. Through the NAACP, Parks worked alongside other passionate individuals dedicated to challenging racial inequality and fighting for justice. She attended meetings, organized events, and actively contributed to the organization's efforts to combat segregation and discrimination. Education also played a pivotal role in Parks' life. Despite limited opportunities and segregated schools, she was determined to pursue her education. In her early adulthood, Parks completed her high school education, which was an accomplishment in itself during that time. Parks' commitment to education extended beyond her own pursuits. She became a vocal advocate for educational opportunities for African American children. She worked as a secretary at the Montgomery Industrial School, an institution that prioritized vocational training for young black students. Parks' pursuit of personal growth and education was not limited to formal schooling. She was an avid reader and self-taught individual, constantly seeking knowledge and expanding her understanding of the world. Her thirst for learning empowered her to be well-informed and articulate in her advocacy for civil rights. The Montgomery Bus Boycott stands as a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement, ignited by Rosa Parks' historic act of defiance. To truly understand its significance, we must delve into the events leading up to that fateful day in Montgomery, Alabama, and the discriminatory bus policies that perpetuated racial segregation. On December 1, 1955, Rosa Parks, a tired seamstress and lifelong advocate for civil rights, boarded a Montgomery city bus. At that time, the buses enforced a policy that mandated African Americans to give up their seats to white passengers if the white section was full. Parks, weary of the indignities of segregation, refused to comply with this unjust demand. The discriminatory bus policies in Montgomery were deeply rooted in a culture of racial inequality. African Americans were subjected to Jim Crow laws that enforced racial segregation in public spaces. On buses, they were required to sit at the back, behind a line separating them from white passengers. Moreover, they were often forced to relinquish their seats to white riders, regardless of their own fatigue or the available space in the colored section. These policies perpetuated a climate of fear and subservience among African Americans, who faced severe consequences for challenging the status quo. Non-compliance with the bus rules could result in verbal and physical abuse, arrest, and even loss of employment. The cultural climate in Montgomery was one of oppressive racism, where the rights and dignity of African Americans were systematically denied. Rosa Parks' refusal to surrender her seat was a courageous act of defiance that ignited the spark for change. Her arrest that day sparked outrage within the African American community, leading to a groundswell of support for action against the oppressive bus policies. Activists like Joe N. Robinson and E.D. Nixon rallied the community, mobilizing efforts to boycott the Montgomery buses. The Montgomery Bus Boycott, which began on December 5, 1955, saw African Americans uniting in solidarity, choosing to walk, carpool, or find alternative means of transportation rather than ride the buses. The boycott lasted for 381 days, creating significant economic and social disruption. During this time, Martin Luther King Jr. emerged as a prominent leader, galvanizing the community with his philosophy of nonviolent resistance. The boycott garnered national attention, putting pressure on Montgomery city officials and bus company to address the discriminatory policies. Following Rosa Parks' arrest for her refusal to surrender her bus seat, a legal battle ensued that would have far-reaching implications for the fight against racial segregation. The legal proceedings surrounding Parks' arrest highlighted the unjust nature of the discriminatory bus policies, ultimately leading to a landmark Supreme Court decision. After her arrest on December 1, 1955, Rosa Parks was charged with violating segregation laws in Montgomery, Alabama. Her case became a focal point for the civil rights movement, and her legal team, led by Fred Gray, embarked on a mission to challenge the constitutionality of racial segregation on buses. The legal battle unfolded in Alabama's state courts, with Parks' legal team arguing that segregated bus seating violated the principles of equality and due process guaranteed by the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Despite facing numerous obstacles and deep-seated racial biases within the legal system, Parks' legal team persevered. In June 1956, the Circuit Court of Montgomery ruled in favor of the bus segregation laws, upholding her conviction. However, this setback did not deter the determined activists and lawyers fighting for justice. The case was eventually appealed to the United States Supreme Court, which consolidated it with several other cases challenging bus segregation laws from across the country. This combined effort led to the landmark case of Browder v. Gale. On December 20, 1956, the Supreme Court delivered its verdict, declaring racial segregation on buses unconstitutional. The court's ruling stated that segregated bus seating violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. This groundbreaking decision struck down the discriminatory policies that had long perpetuated racial segregation and upheld the principle of equality under the law. The Supreme Court's decision in Browder v. Gale marked a significant triumph for the civil rights movement. It not only invalidated the discriminatory bus policies in Montgomery but also set a precedent for challenging segregation laws throughout the nation. The ruling served as a catalyst for further legal battles against racial discrimination and segregation, energizing the fight for equality in various aspects of American life. Rosa Parks' contributions to the civil rights movement extended far beyond her act of defiance on that Montgomery bus. Her remarkable journey left a lasting impact on American society, reshaping public opinion and sparking a national discourse on civil rights. In the years following her pivotal role in the Montgomery Bus Boycott, Rosa Parks garnered national recognition and received numerous awards for her courage and commitment to equality. She was honored with prestigious accolades such as the Spingarn Medal from the NAACP, the Martin Luther King Jr. Award, and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the United States. Beyond individual recognition, Parks became an iconic figure in the fight against racial injustice. Her quiet strength and unwavering resolve resonated with people across the nation and even the world. Parks' story humanized the struggle for civil rights and brought the issues of segregation and discrimination into the mainstream consciousness. Through her act of defiance and subsequent activism, Parks catalyzed a shift in public opinion. Her bravery challenged deeply ingrained prejudices and forced people to confront the inherent injustice of racial segregation. She became a symbol of resistance and a beacon of hope for those fighting for equal rights. Parks' actions sparked a national discourse on civil rights. The Montgomery Bus Boycott brought issues of segregation to the forefront of public consciousness, prompting conversations and debates about racial equality. The media coverage of the boycott and Parks' subsequent legal battles further amplified the importance of the civil rights movement, galvanizing support for change. Her legacy continues to inspire generations to this day. Her refusal to accept injustice and her willingness to sacrifice for a greater cause laid the groundwork for the dismantling of segregation and the advancement of civil rights in America. Her name has become synonymous with courage and determination, a testament to the power of ordinary individuals to effect extraordinary change.